Hi, and welcome back to Transit Talk, where we explore the astrological energies of the week to help you navigate your journey with confidence and insight. I'm your host, Shanice, and this week we are talking about the astrology for March the 31st through April the 6th, 2025. And before we get into this week's astrology, I just wanted to go over some personal astrology reflections that I've have been going through. And I kind of want to go through a recap before we get into the energy of this week. So let's get into the recap. First of all, I want to talk about the Virgo Lunar Eclipse that happened on March the 14th. I forgot to talk about that last week and what I've noticed from that eclipse. So, the energy of Virgo is the perfectionist of the zodiac sign. And something that I've been noticing within the collective, or a shift that I've seen in the collective, is around the inner critic. I'm noticing that a lot of people are getting fed up with perfectionism. Um, and a lot of people are starting to reclaim their sense of self worth. And like, it's almost like they're dropping the need to fix themselves and finally allowing themselves to just be. And that's also something personally that I've been going through too. So hopefully this is um a massive release around like things like shame, negative self-talk, and the pressure to perform. So let's move over to, I guess, pop culture, celebrity astrology news. And I wanted to talk about Jonathan Majors and Meagan Good announcing their marriage, which was like literally the day before the spring equinox. So on not March the 29th, but March the 19th, 2025, I believe on the Sherry show, I think it's Sherry Shepherd show, Jonathan Majors basically announced that like a day before that him and Meagan Good finally tied the knot. And their relationship already was like pretty controversial because Jonathan Majors was had dealt with some legal issues regarding domestic violence, like a domestic violence case with his ex. So we don't really like, I feel like I'm not going to say we because I'm not in this. Like, I don't, this is not my business. But a lot of people, like Megan Good's fans, are not too pleased about this relationship. So, what I wanted to do, because I didn't know that there was a birth time for Megan Good's birth chart, and I found it online. She's a Virgo rising, and she got married during Mercury retrograde, which I'm not like opposed to, because with Mercury being her chart ruler, and around the time that we'll just get into it. Let me just get into it. So her chart ruler is Mercury, and Mercury was retrograde in Aries in her 8th house of transformation, intimacy, and like shared commitments the day that she got married, and announced the day after was her announcement. So Mercury was still in her 8th house, and it was also forming a conjunction with Venus retrograde in Aries, which Venus is at her detriment in Aries. So she's not comfortable there. And what this conjunction or configuration shows is that this decision potentially came from a place of like deep emotional reflection and vulnerability for Megan. Now, I did not see Jonathan Major's birth chart. I don't have a birth time for him. So we're just going to go based off of her birth chart because we have a birth time for her. But there were also some aspects to Saturn and Jupiter in Libra in her 2nd house. So I believe Mercury and Venus retrograde were both forming oppositions with Saturn and Jupiter in her second house. So this speaks to a weight of like values and this being about legacy, especially with Jupiter and Saturn both being involved. And there were also trines to her IC and North Node in the 12th house. So this shows that she may have felt spiritually aligned or led by something bigger than herself. So she was surrendering to something bigger than herself when she decided to get married. Looking at her birth chart, and this is just my interpretation of it. Many astrologers have different interpretations of it, but this was just my take on it and me analyzing it. So Saturn is also in Pisces right now, and she is ruled by Virgo. And Virgo's opposite sign is Pisces. So Saturn is in her seventh house. And a lot of people want to know when they will get married, if they are, looking to be married or commit to somebody. And I always tell people to pay attention to when Saturn is transiting your first, seventh, your fifth, or like your eighth, not eighth, your 11th house, even your second house. I've even seen like some charts like with Adrienne Ballon. I hope I'm saying her name right. Excuse me. I've seen where she got married when Saturn was transiting her second house. So even when like Saturn is transiting your second house, there's a potential of getting married. Second and eighth house. But yeah, so Saturn is currently transiting Meagan Good's seventh house, which is all about seriousness in her long term commitments and partnerships. And this isn't something that, excuse me if my voice is cracking. Mercury is retrograde right now. I cannot communicate right. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, excuse me. This transit or Saturn forming an opposition with her natal Venus in Virgo and also the South Node in Virgo, this marriage might bring up some challenges that force her to grow and really gain some clarity about her sense of self-worth. And also it might redefine what love means to her over time. So like there are some like really challenging but also supportive aspects in this marriage when I was observing it. Now, Venus retrograde marriages tend to be pretty challenging. I'm not even gonna lie, but we'll see. I mean, Venus was aspecting her Jupiter and her Saturn placement, so yeah, this might come with some challenges. But it was also opposing her Jupiter, so it might bring some children. I would not be surprised if Meagan Good announces a pregnancy by the end of this eclipse cycle. So we just started the Virgo Pisces eclipse cycle. So I would say probably this fall, so fall of 2025, going into like um winter of 2025. I feel like she's going to possibly announce a pregnancy. There may also be some fertility issues. I don't know, but we shall see. So let's look at I guess like the political realm and we can see what happened when literally Neptune was at the final degree of Pisces. Vice President JD Vance was caught in a Signal app leak where a group chat had accidentally exposed some classified military plans. And this happened during Mercury retrograde in Aries, and it was also forming a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. So this was basically like that aspect was the perfect setup for like some private information to be unintentionally revealed to the public. Mercury retrograde in Aries, sextiling Pluto. And when we look at JD Vance's chart, this transit is activating his ninth house, which is all about international affairs, laws, and also his 11th house, which is like networking and the collective consciousness. So, or collective consequences as well. So, it's a mess with like some long-term implications. So, the astrology is also confirming that this probably wasn't just a PR slip, but this was some sort of karmic exposure. So that's pretty much recapping. I think that's all I wanted to talk about or mention about Pisces season. Mars has been in Cancer since October, and I want to say that we have been seeing a lot of arguments online, and it's just really crazy. I don't know. So Mars will be leaving out of Cancer in April. So around, I want to say April the 17th. We'll talk about that when that happens, but let's get into the tarot card of the week. So this week, this week's tarot card is the Two of Wands, grounded by the Lovers. And some key words and phrases often associated with this card, the Two of Wands, is potential, planning, hope, longing, vision, alignment, and conscious choices. And when you look at the Two of Wands in the Rider Waite tarot deck, it shows a man in a red robe standing at the edge of some sort of like balcony or building, which kind of looks like a castle. And he's holding what looks like a globe and a wand. So a globe in his, I believe, left hand and a wand in his right hand. And one of the other wands, which represents the two of the wands that, signifies the or symbolizes the tarot card, one of the wands is securely attached to the castle or the building that he's standing on. So this all shows someone who is at a crossroads and is contemplating acting on their dreams or staying in their comforts. So when this card comes up, or when it comes out during a reading, it can symbolize a moment between vision and action. And with the Two of Wands being ruled by Mars, this card, I don't know why I say yum. I hope y'all don't like ignore that, please. I'm neurospicy. But anyway, with the Two of Wands being ruled by Mars, this week we have Mars forming a trine to Saturn on Friday. So with this transit, we might feel the energy of being at a crossroads and recognizing that we've outgrown something, and we might also be trying to move or pivot into a new direction, but we haven't really committed or fully committed to the new direction, or we might still be unsure about, where we're going, because we're so comfortable in what we know. And the Lovers is grounding the Two of Wands. So whatever decision or direction we are choosing to go in, we are choosing to align ourselves with divine connections. That's what the Lovers energy is symbolizing for us. So with the Lovers grounding the Two of Wands, it's reminding us that this is not just about external choices. It's actually encouraging us to align with something deeply um internal, like whatever we feel aligned to internally. Like you can chase a goal, but does it truly resonate with what you feel in your heart? Or is it just the next logical step that you're making? So this week is asking us, where are you being invited to grow? And are you making decisions from a place of fear or from a place of faith in what you truly want? So let's get into the weekly overview. We don't have many transits happening this week. Um, on April the 2nd, we have Venus retrograde in Pisces, forming a conjunction with the North Node. So this is our heart center, feeling really aligned with the connections that we are making, or this could potentially be someone coming back around in your life. And they could be bringing you some sort of emotional clarity. This is also very fated and karmic with the North Node being involved. And on April the 4th, we have Saturn in Pisces forming a sextile to Uranus in Taurus. And also Mars in Cancer is forming a sextile to Uranus in Taurus. So this is Saturn and Mars both forming a sextile to Uranus. And Mars is also forming a trine to Saturn in Pisces. So this is us creating some sort of new way of thinking with Uranus being involved. And it's very much grounded with Saturn being involved, Taurus being involved. This could be us getting more grounded in our emotions and us being more emotionally mature, us building more stability, and also standing firm within our boundaries that we've created. And on April the 6th, we have the sun in Aries, which is exalted, by the way. So use this energy wisely, forming a sextile to Jupiter in Gemini. And then we have Venus retrograde in Pisces, forming a trine to Mars. So this is a very Martian ruled week. This is on April the 6th. This energy could bring a burst of confidence and optimism. This could also be healing our relationships within romance and finances. And you also getting more creative. So this week is asking us to lean into what feels both real and also nourishing to our souls. So let's get into the daily breakdown, and I'll go over each of the energies for the week, starting with Monday, March the 31st. And we don't have any major transits happening on Monday. We actually have we don't have any major aspects or like moon aspects either. Like the moon will be pretty much void all day on Monday. But the moon is in Taurus, so it's exalted. The sun is also exalted. Venus retrograde is exalted. The only thing that probably is really uncomfortable right now is Mercury in Pisces. And this is just us not really feeling mentally clear or having clarity. We can really, what am I trying to say? Like right now, me trying to communicate, not really having my thoughts aligned correctly for me to communicate. Us probably feeling mentally foggy. I feel like Monday is one of the Mondayest days of the week or years I've ever seen, because we have so many planets that are comfortable, and the planet that rules the way that we commute or communicate isn't comfortable. So it's like we want to just kind of, be on pause this week and do a lot of like emotional grounding work. Um so there are no major transits on Monday. So it's kind of like a low pressure day. It's the perfect day for resting, organizing your week, or reflecting on everything that has happened during eclipse season, because this Aries eclipse that happened on Saturday pretty much closes out this eclipse season. So it's kind of like a day where you can let your body and your mind catch up. So the vibe for Monday is neutral. It's more of a day to just catch up than to like really start something new. So just clean your space up, catch up on some sleep, journal without needing some sort of answer or for anything. You can do like a brain dump. Just kind of like let yourself be on Monday. So moving over to Tuesday, April the 1st, 2025. The moon is in Taurus, and It will move into Gemini later in the afternoon if you are on the West Coast like myself. So, this is a highly active day for the moon because it's almost like we go from like feeling very sluggish. Like on Monday, you might not have a lot of energy. And then on Tuesday, all of a sudden you feel really, overwhelmed and you're like, oh my God, I got this to do, I got that to do. Like you could just, it might not feel like an initial overwhelm, like an initial push, but it might feel like a gradual push of things that you need to do, especially going into like the afternoon. So try your best to ground yourself on Tuesday. The moon will be talking to Mars in Cancer, forming a sextile to Mars in Cancer when most of us are waking up or we are on our way to work. So this is asking us to move slowly, and this could also be, a good time to get your favorite meal in the morning, stop for some coffee, get a donut or something. I don't know, whatever you like to do on Tuesday, do that. Treat yourself Tuesday morning. The moon will be talking to Mars in Cancer, and it will also be forming a sextile to Saturn in Pisces. So, a good day to go slow. Take your time, plan, ahead. If you know that you're going to be late, you might potentially be late for something, or you just want to move slow on Tuesday. And then the moon will form a conjunction to Uranus in Taurus. So this is also like some sort of surprise, or this could be tech related, especially with Mercury retrograde right now. So this could be like your car potentially not starting on Tuesday. Sorry, I'm not trying to wish that on nobody, but that could be a good thing, like look, try to find the wisdom in the situation. Um, but Uranus is also asking you to get clear about something. This could be a new way of thinking, a new way of doing something. So if you run into some issues on Tuesday morning where you might be running late, or you might have some sort of technical issue, some sort of transportation issue, just try to ground yourself. Like I said, get your favorite treat, get a coffee, a matcha, some donuts, your favorite breakfast. By the late afternoon, it will it the moon in Gemini, or not Gemini, in Taurus, will form a sextile with Mercury retrograde in Pisces. So this could be an opportunity to communicate something and allow it to go easy. This is also a good time to reconnect with someone from your past. Mercury is retrograde right now to get some clarity. You don't have to get back with anyone, but you can get some clarity on a situation. That would be a good time. Tuesday is a good time to reflect as well. And then on Tuesday afternoon, the moon will move into Gemini. So this could make you feel more mentally stimulated. You might get more curious. You might want to socialize a bit more because the moon in Gemini is an air sign, or Gemini is an air sign. And this is also intuitive insights through like quick daydreams and like downloads. So the moon will form a sextile to Neptune and Aries. So you might get a rush of insight or like some sort of creative spark or spiritual download on Tuesday afternoon. And later on on Tuesday, the moon will form a trine to Pluto in Aquarius. So this is emotional depth with some sort of sharp awareness, something that you weren't aware of before. This could be conversations that kind of dig below the surface, something that's coming out that might feel uncomfortable, but it's asking you to transmute or alchemize that fear or uncomfort. So overall, um, Tuesday is a great day for some heart-centered planning, And also emotional processing, especially in the morning time. Take it slow. Things will start to shift around the afternoon into a more mental and like social energy when the moon moves into Gemini. So you might feel like brainstorming or like chatting with people or, going out in your neighborhood, taking a walk or changing your scenery. This day is a great day to blend like your emotional sensitivity with clear minded action. So, like, again, it's a great day to plan. Monday and Tuesday both are. Okay, now to Wednesday, April 2nd. The day starts with a harmonious trine. The moon in Gemini will form a sextile to the sun in Aries. So this might be a confidence blue boost or an opportunity to go with the flow. So our mind will be in sync. So, like, our mind and will, like the things that we want to go after, will be in sync if you are willing to like pay attention to this, because sextiles are energies that tend to be things you have to be looking for. So, this is a harmonious moment to connect with other people or make a confident, bold decision, like asking a boss for a raise if you've been thinking about it. This might be a good time to do it. And then in the afternoon, the moon will form a conjunction with Jupiter in Gemini. So this is good energy, an opportunity to have great expansive conversations. This could be good news. Your thoughts could feel more expansive. Communication could be flowing easily. You might just feel overall more optimistic and inspired on Wednesday, especially with Venus retrograde forming a conjunction with the North Node in Pisces. So, this is the day or a good day to really connect with your heart and possibly this could like really be a pivot point for the week for you, like change some things or mark something for you. This could be a karmic reconnection, some sort of relationship clarity, or some sort of creative or spiritual nudge towards your destiny. This could be clarity in regards to your finances. So, your emotions may feel overwhelmed, or you might feel sensitive on Wednesday, especially around like things like romance and things that you feel really spiritually connected to. So you might want to reflect on any connections from your past that are showing up for you on Wednesday, or if you're being pulled towards something that you feel called to spiritually. This is a good day to be vulnerable about it. Um, the moon in Gemini is keeping this energy very light, curious, and social. And Saturn is in Pisces right now, so we still have a bit of seriousness there, but there's like a bit of like not really taking things too serious, like just being more optimistic on Wednesday. So Wednesday looks like really one of the good days out of the week. Wednesday and Sunday both. But let's get to Thursday, April the 3rd. So we might feel some emotional pressure or like mental fog on Thursday. Um, this is one of the more challenging days for the moon because it will form a square to Saturn in Pisces early in the morning. So we might feel unheard or emotionally restricted. So watch out for shutting down or becoming overly critical of yourself when not Wednesday, Thursday morning. And also the moon will square Venus retrograde in Pisces. So our emotions around romance or finances or things about the past might not feel, really the best at this time, like on Thursday, like not Monday, but Wednesday we might feel really emotionally high, and then Thursday it just might feel really sobering. Something might happen, or you know, something might wake you up, and it just, I don't know, some sort of miscommunication. Just watch out for miscommunication because the moon will form a square to Mercury in Pisces, so you could also feel emotionally scattered as well with this energy. And then later on Thursday, the moon will enter Cancer. So this will shift our emotions to be more inward or like reflective and protective of ourselves. And we will also probably need some sort of comfort. So this is a good time to like get your favorite treat. Thursday, if you're feeling really emotionally sensitive, eating your favorite treat, doing something indulgent on Thursday might help. It's okay if you don't feel mentally sharp on Thursday. That's very much the transit or the vibes on Thursday. The moon will square Neptune newly in Aries, so watch out for some sort of confusion, or you might get a treat and then you might try to, get too many treats, escapism. So try to balance yourself. Um, Lean into doing your rituals and not making any big decisions on Thursday. It's more of a day to be introspective and to take care of, the things that you can control. If you do find yourself, feeling emotionally or mentally scattered on Thursday, it's asking you to really reflect in, what you can control and handle those things. So, or not reflect, but handle the things that you can control and be productive in that way. You will gain clarity later on in April, especially around the full moon in Libra, because that week we have Mercury stationing direct that Monday. And then we have Venus stationing direct after the full moon in Libra on Saturday. So, whatever you might feel mentally confused about this week, you'll be gaining clarity about it soon, this month, April. So let's move over to Friday, April the 4th, 2025. So Friday we might feel um the energy of building something more solid. Um but not really fully committing to it just yet. This is just like some soft planning, soft brainstorming. We have some beautiful supportive sextiles and trines between Saturn, Uranus, and Mars. So after Thursday's mentally foggy energy, this day brings a more emotionally stabilizing and action oriented day. It's gentle but decisive energy. So early in the morning, we have Saturn in Pisces forming a sextile to Uranus um, in Taurus, and this is blending the old with the new, tradition with innovation. So you might be, incorporating the way that you used to do things with something new that you just picked up. So this is great energy for committing to something future minded, long term planning, especially around creative energy, finances, or like some sort of healing energy. And then in the afternoon on Friday, we have Mars in Cancer forming a sextile to Uranus in Taurus. So this is courage to try something new in a more safe way. We have Mars in Cancer, so she's feeling very emotionally safe to do this with this sextile. So this is acting on our emotions from a place of bravery, especially when it comes to our family and close relationships. And then later um, Friday evening, we have Mars in Cancer forming a trine to Saturn in Pisces. So this is slow and steady energy. Slow and steady wins the race. This is emotional maturity plus action, and you're starting to see real progress manifest. So this is a long haul kind of transit. So whatever you are working on this day, there are some long-term benefits to it if you stay consistent. So think legacy, not instant gratification. So on Friday, try to take some small but meaningful steps in a direction you've been dreaming about, especially when it comes to your home, um, healing, or some sense of stability, especially when it comes to finances. So let's get to Saturday, April the 5th. We have some emotional flow energy with some personal drive. And this is one of the most harmonious days for the moon this week. We have some aspects with the Cancer moon and some energy with Pisces and Taurus energies or Taurus placements. So the moon will eventually shift to Leo. So it's going to like bring some expressive and social energy, a little bit dramatic. But first, in the afternoon, we have the moon in Cancer forming a sextile. So the moon will form a sextile to Uranus in Taurus. And this is emotional flexibility and us feeling more grounded, even if we do have, disruption or surprises come up. We feel emotionally flexible and grounded in our emotions when the moon in Cancer forms a sextile to Uranus. So you might feel open to change without fear. Then we will have the moon in Cancer forming a trine to Saturn in Pisces. So this is supportive for setting emotional boundaries or having some heart-to-heart conversations rooted in maturity. When Saturn is involved, this is the opportunity for us to have mature conversations or to approach a situation from a more mature perspective and mindset. We also have the moon in Cancer forming a trine to Venus retrograde in Pisces. So this is some nostalgic, reminiscing type of energy. This is also the energy of encouraging us to lean into our comforts and creativity. So Saturday looks like a beautiful day to get more structured around your creativity and things that bring you comfort, and also being more open and honest and having those hard conversations about boundaries. And then later on in the evening, the moon in Cancer will form a trine to Mercury retrograde in Pisces. So again, reflective communication, reflective convos or conversations, a good time to write, and also understanding emotional patterns from the past when Mercury retrograde is involved, and also Cancer being nostalgic energy. So paying attention to some emotional patterns that we may have displayed or seen in the past, and we can now correct that. Later on Saturday evening, the moon will enter Leo, and this shifts us from being, a bit more introspective to being more social and expressive. Leo energy can be a bit dramatic. And later on, right before most of us either before we go out or before we are going to bed, the moon will trine Neptune in Aries. So some sense of creativity or intuition coming to the forefront. We might get some insight, spiritual downloads anytime Neptune is involved right before we go to bed. So let yourself dream or create freely on Saturday. Allow your emotions to flow and connect with things that bring you joy. The moon will move into Leo. Leo is all about joy and feeling love, like it loves to be expressive and seen. So if you want to be seen, Saturday is a good time to be seen. um And it's also a good day to be heard and feel supported. So, this is asking you to feel inspired around creativity, your romance, and also it's okay to get a little attention or seek a little attention, but do it in a fun way. Now, the last day of the week, Sunday, April the 6th, 2025. It is a big vision, big feels type of day. Um, the sun in Aries will form a sextile to Jupiter in Gemini, so we might feel a boost, a confidence boost. You might also feel more hopeful with Jupiter being involved or ready to like communicate something on Sunday. And then the moon in Leo will form in opposition with Pluto in Aquarius. So something emotionally intense may come up early in the morning when we're waking up. This could also be some sort of power dynamic, power struggle type situation with Pluto being involved that could come to the surface, and deeper truths could also be revealed. And then on Sunday, the last aspect that the moon will form, or the last aspect that will happen before the moon goes void, Venus retrograde in Pisces will form a trine to Mars in Cancer. So this is a very healing moment around love, creativity, our finances, or it might just bring some sense of emotional clarity. So this might feel like some sort of closure that you've been waiting to receive. You might also reconnect with someone from your past. Or you could just feel at peace within your own emotions. So the moon will go void on Sunday at 5 in the morning Mountain Time. So adjust to your time zone. So Sunday is a really good day to like reflect and just rest before the week. So it's kind of like a pause. Like you've been, moving through the week. This is probably an emotionally or spiritually awakening week. So this would be a good day to rest and reflect. So listen to your body and try not to push yourself this week. So that pretty much closes out this week. I don't really have much to say. Personal transits. I will say that I have been feeling this Neptune transit. I've also been feeling these retrogrades. They, Venus and Mercury retrograde, both just went back into my 12th house. But I feel like I'm just not in the point of my life where I am people pleasing anymore. So I've been seeing that a lot, like come up more so than ever. But yeah, that's pretty much been going on with my birth chart or in my life with the transits. But I don't have any listeners' questions this week. So if you are interested in getting your birth chart read and me answering a question for you anonymously catered to your birth chart, you can click the link down wherever you hear this, in the description of wherever you hear this podcast, and fill out the Google form, and I will answer it in next week's episode. So that pretty much wraps up this week's transit talk. As always, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And remember, the sky isn't forcing you, it's inviting you. Be kind to yourself in these transits as these transits unfold. And don't be afraid to soften into the shifts, okay? This is for my fire and air sign placements, okay? The fixed people too. So allow yourself to change your perspective. And if you enjoyed this week's episode, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might need the message in this week's episode. And if you want me to look into your personal birth chart, you can book a reading at my website, thecelestialgarden.org. Until next time, talk to you guys next week.